Hello everybody, welcome to my podcast today. I wanted to talk in real relationships today about the different power and love relationships because there's three of them, and I think it's really important that you understand which one you're in and then how do you fix it. So when we first meet, we were in the love relationship. Everything's lovey-dovey and we're so in love and we'll do anything for the other person and likewise, and there's not much power going on there. It's just all about being in love and it's all very wonderful. However, as time passes, sometimes what happens is one of the partners usually starts wanting to assert their power more, and you'll find that they will want to get their own way more. Maybe they're a little bit of a control freak. Maybe they're just used to wanting to have everything how they want to have it, and they start to come from a different place. So instead of coming from love with their partner, now they're coming from power and control. And then you change the dynamic, because before you had this love relationship, which is a really good basis and foundation for a relationship, but now it's morphing into a love and a power relationship. The one partner might still be coming from love, being very loving and unconditional love, hopefully, and wanting to do everything for the other person, wanting to put them first in the relationship, while the other partner is now starting to want to assert their power and control in the relationship. And there's sort of less love coming, and it's more to do with power and control, always wanting to be right, always wanting to have it their way. And this starts to become more important than coming from love. So you've got like a dynamic now which has changed. One person coming from power, one person coming from love. And it's going to start really affecting the relationship, because the person who's not coming from love is not giving any. For example, the power person isn't giving love when they're playing their little power games, because power has nothing to do with love. Empowerment does, but power doesn't. Trying to overpower someone has nothing to do with love. And so the person who's in love with them, the one who's coming from love, isn't getting much love back. For the power person, they're doing okay. The other person's still being loving and kind to them and putting them first and pleasing them and, empowering them and being a great partner. But the one who's the love person, who's with now the power person, isn't doing very well. What happens after a while is their love person gets really sick of it and starts to resist. Now, they can resist passively by just not cooperating, not doing what the other person says, but not saying it out loud, or they can start fighting with them. And that's the one we're talking about now, which now becomes a power relationship. Because while the one person's trying to be bossy and boss you around to do as you're told, after a while, even though you're the love person, you're finding that you're starting to engage on that level now. You didn't really want to, but, you sort of just have to, because you're just being bossed around too much and told what to do, and they're trying to control everything you do in every part of your life now, try to micromanage you. And so you start to stand up to them and pick up your own power, in a sense, and stand up and say no and won't do it and argue. And in time, you'll find that now you're both in a power relationship. You're not so much coming from love either, because you're just trying to make sure that you can get the new dishwasher because they've told you can't buy it, or go off and play sport because they've told you they don't want you to go and play sport anymore on Saturdays. You're supposed to stay home and mow the lawn or something. You'll find that now you're in a power relationship, and there's less love because they're not coming from love, and then you're not coming from love. There is love still there, but you're actually not coming from that. So all your actions are now being morphed into power actions. I have seen this dynamic so many times, and that's why I want to do a particular podcast on it, just to do the three parts and to talk about this, because this is one of the greatest reasons that people's partnerships break down and their love partnerships break down, because the focus is in the wrong place. You probably know which one you're in right now. Hopefully you're in the love one, and that's why those relationships last, because basically the people are always coming from love. Of course they'll have their few little spats in the kitchen or arguments about something around the house or work with the kids, but they're still coming from love. And those ones will usually last forever, actually. And they're the long-term relationships that just seem to get through everything because they're coming from love. The power love one, they can also last, but they're not so happy. The person who's the power person would be somewhat frustrated because they can't get it their way all the time because life's like that. The one who's the loved one in that relationship doesn't feel so loved or nourished because the person's coming from the other space, and they will feel more unsettled because they'll know there's something wrong, but they won't be able to put their finger on it because they know the person loves them, but they can't feel it. That's the best way of saying it. I would say that would be your best gut, that you don't feel it when you're engaged with them. Now, if you're in a power love one and you're the love person, they're the power person, you won't feel it. You can't feel the love. And that's because power is what they're coming from and control. And then, of course, if you're in that last one, the control power one, the power one, you'll kind of know that because you're fighting a lot and you're just vying for power all the time. One of you has probably got really fed up with being told what to do, and now they're either having this open war or the Cold War where you just passively resist and won't cooperate, which isn't a good thing either because you're not coming from love. Once you can figure out which one you're in, that's when you start doing the work. So we're not talking about the love people now. Sure, now you can finish the podcast now. You don't have to do any more. We're talking about this love power and then the power. If you're in the love power one, you're still in process. You haven't got up to the third level, and you might not. If you're a person who has issues with power, maybe you've come out of relationship or a childhood where you were disempowered, you will be used to that dynamic. So you might just be able to, I don't know, suck it up, cope with it. However, most people eventually will start becoming passively resistant in that, and then really you'll end up with that power one. If you're in the power one, you'll know. And the way to fix those two is to sit down and start to focus on the love. And you need to talk to your partner about this. If you're the person who's being the power person, you have to stop it. You have to stop telling them what to do, bossing them around, wanting to get your own way, being a control freak. You need to stop trying to control them. And if you stop trying to control them and let them have their own way and let them do it their way and be quiet and come from love, you can actually shift it back. That's how you do it. You just come from love. It's pretty simple. So you just be quiet. You just stop trying to manage their life. You manage your life, they manage their life, and then you've got the us life. If you're both in it, you both have to just stop. You both have to stop trying to get your own way and both be the boss, because that's what's happening. You both want to be the boss now. So you need to give up the boss role and come from love again. You started there. You know how to do it. So you just have to stop bossing each other around. Now, saying to do this and then doing it is quite difficult because you're going to fall in a hole quite a lot. It's easy to say this, and I've experienced this, and you'll find that the old patterns will come back in very quickly. So what I want you to do is not be hard on yourself when you're trying to change it. Mostly being quiet works. I think that's the best thing, being quiet when you want to tell them what to do or which street to go down or how to cook something. Take over in the kitchen once again. You just don't do that. You walk away and you keep out of it. And you let people do it their own way unless they ask you for help. It's good to stop coming from power because you'll stop fighting. You'll stop arguing. You'll stop having these little passive resistance wars, and then there'll be less tension in the house. The best way to ask is it their stuff or our stuff? If it's their stuff, keep out of it. If it's our stuff, decide whether you want to get involved in it. You need to come from your heart, not with your solar plexus where you're trying to have power. You don't need to have power in a relationship that's a love relationship. You need to have love in that relationship and then empower people in that relationship. That's what you're there to do. This isn't an easy one to fix because it's become an old pattern. And if you are actually a control freak and you like to control everything, you're going to have to do a lot of work on yourself to break that. Often we are genetically programmed and or we've come from an environment where we've had a controlling parent or maybe 2 even, and then we just pick up all those habits. But you can change that. It's just a behaviour, that's all it is, it's a behaviour. And if you want to maintain a love relationship, you stop the behaviour that's wrecking it. And I'm going to tell you that this will wreck your relationship. It will wreck it in 2 ways. One, the person who you're having the power struggle with, and you're both having the struggle, you'll just land up, it'll just get worse and worse. And if you're in that dynamic where you're the person who's playing the power game and the other person is coming from love still, they will come to hate and resent you, and that will actually erode the love they feel to you. In the end, they won't like you anymore. They might love you, but they sure won't like you. And if it's the other way around, you won't like them, and you become resentful and bitter towards them. And that will actually sort of mess the relationship up anyhow. So put your control away, put your power away, come from love, and talk to your partner about this and see if you can fix it. Because there is love there, and that's where you need to put the focus, not on the power and the control. This can be done, this really can be done, but it will take quite a lot of hard work and effort, and you have to watch yourself all the time. You have to be watching yourself and listening to yourself to hear when the old behaviours come up, or the old little control tactics that you've used for so many years come up. You have to see it to stop it, but it can be stopped. And I think it's a great thing to stop anyhow. We should be trying to control people. We should be loving them and empowering them. Do some work on it. Watch yourself. Talk to your partner if they're the one who is the control person, and see if you can get this to lessen in your relationship, and then get rid of it completely and come back to a love relationship, and then you can live happily ever after, as they say. Wow, wouldn't that be cool? Okay, I'm sending you lots of love and healing this week.